Hey, everybody. Hi, it's Dan Cerrucci. And wait a minute, where's Justin? I'm supposed to be here with Justin, and I don't see him now. Justin Musella. Justin, where are you? Let's see if we can get him back. I don't know what's going on. Give me a moment, everybody, while we try to get this set up. Here's Justin. Justin,
Yeah,
you're back.
I think I lost you there.
Yes, we did
Okay.
lose you for a moment. This is Dan Cerrucci. Here I am again. We're just 1 minute and 12 seconds into this, so we really didn't lose any time. I'm here with Justin Musella, who we've spoken to before, and I think this guy's a bright, rising political star from Morris County, New Jersey, Parsippany-Troy Hills. Justin is a councilman there. And Justin, you're running for mayor, not this November, but in the primary, in the Republican contested primary, which is going to come up next spring.
Correct.
So we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that, I want to check my Facebook page and make sure that we're on there live because this is very important. To make sure that we are coming across, and there we are, we're on the Facebook page. And what I'm going to do, Justin, is I'm going to put this live broadcast um, audience, I'm going to make it public so that anybody can see it. And now that I've made it public, you can go on it and you can share it on your Facebook page. And we are also live on my YouTube channel, and we are also live on LinkedIn. And this entire broadcast will be on my blog at dancerrucci.com. So I invite you to watch this either on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on my YouTube channel, or to watch it later at dancerrucci.com. Though we may not have a lot of viewers now, we will get a lot of viewers in any one of these places as it will be on there. And I will put it at the top of the page, Justin. Okay, Justin, so here we are. It's great to be with you again. And I have to congratulate Justin and his wife and wish them well as they are expecting a little baby boy. This will be your first child in December, Justin.
Yeah, it's take a look at my head of hair now. Probably next time a year from now when the baby comes, it'll be filled with all gray hairs. I mean, 3 years of Parsippany politics wasn't enough to do it. So we'll find out if a toddler can. That'll be the real bet.
Well, I can tell you, Justin, I don't want to say too much, but as the father of two and the grandfather of seven, your life will be forever changed.
Yes, and you have a beautiful family. I love all the pictures you post.
Thank you, Justin. It will never, I do feel blessed, but it will never be the same again.
Yeah.
So,
No, it won't. In a good way. I hope.
so you and your wife have been married how long?
So we've been married 2 years. Well, 2.5 years. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary back in August. So yeah, definitely it's exciting. This is a new phase of the marriage where kids enter the picture, and getting ready for that has us all really really happy and just ready for the next chapter.
And it is a big chapter. And you're living in a townhome now, but you're going to be moving into a new house? Are you having a house built? Are you moving into an existing home or what?
Yeah, so we're moving into a house in Parsippany. It'll be a bigger home, bigger than the townhouse that we have currently. So we're excited. We actually close at the end of the week on our house. So I didn't want to reschedule on you because I, value the commitment, but I'm not lying to you when I say that this is a week from hell right now. But we just gotta get through the move and all of that, and then it'll quiet down.
I can only imagine. I mean, but of course, I've been through all that, having moved several times and raised children and the whole thing. And when I look back on it, Justin, I tell people, I tell them two things because they say your family, your children, whatever. First of all, I say I have no idea how I did it, and second, and second, I, I had little or nothing to do with it. Okay? That's the way. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. My kids say to me, "Oh, Dad, why would you say anything like that?" And
Yeah.
but what that's just my perspective looking back. But Justin, oh, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because when I talk to people, political people, and I always like to look at the personal side of politics. Now, I see you went to Emory University. You went to school in the South.
Yeah, yeah. That was it was a great time. Emory's a great school. They call it the Ivy League reject school. Cornell was actually my number one, and I didn't get in there. So everybody that goes to Emory is the first question is, well, what Ivy League school didn't you get into? And that's kind of how you end up there. But I loved my college years. I got to do so much. I got to live in the South, experience a whole new way of life, the customs down there, see so much. And then I got to study abroad, and I got to live in Europe for 6 months in Germany.
Oh, where did you live in Germany?
In Germany.
Were you there when Phil Murphy was the ambassador?
You know what? Yes, it was. Yeah, so I was there 2013. No, 2012. I was there. It was during the Mitt Romney and Obama presidential election. And one of the highlights of my trip, I was studying at the University of Freiburg, and we actually did a debate, and I represented Mitt Romney. And I was in an auditorium with hundreds of German and people who, let's just put things in perspective. In Germany, or more broadly in Europe, Democrats are considered conservative to Europe. So that just puts you in the perspective of what they think about Republicans, of how much farther to the right. And it was a really unique memory that I'll never forget. It was a lot of booing, but I held my own, and I'm no stranger to being, one man against an angry crowd. Very, very accustomed to it.
Do you relish that kind of thing, Justin?
Not always. No, it depends on what side of the bed I wake up on. But I do like to shake things up, which is it was part of my promise if you voted for me, 4 years ago.
Well, where do you think this came from? Your tendency or your desire to shake things up, to be, should we even go so far as to say, a disruptor?
Yeah, I think you get so tired because for many years I was on the sidelines. I was political, but I had never run for office. I was the one putting up signs. I was the one driving elected officials around. I would cancel on dates so I could go drive somebody, throughout northern New Jersey. And through that, you got to see a lot of people who, were one thing in private and then another thing in public, where they knew what the right decision was to make in private. Mm-hmm. They would tell you as much. And then you would just go see these people do the wrong thing in public. And enough years of seeing so many people go through that, who I think are good people, but
Mhm.
they let the system get to them. And I've always vowed never to be that person, even if it,
Mhm.
leads to the end of my political career. I believe in that Mexican saying, better to live a day on your feet than a lifetime on your knees.
Mhm. Mhm. Let's get back to when you were going to school. You were in college, so Justin, it must have been a little easier for you being a young Republican, being in college in the South rather than up here. Was
No,
it
no,
easy?
it wasn't, because you still
No.
had liberal professors that I would battle with at these, universities. I think it's like 90% of all professors vote for the Democratic Party. Um, so,
Even in the South.
even in the South, yeah, even in the South. But I will be honest. I don't think it ever impacted my grades, because I watched so many students just spitball back to the professor their same old ideas that they were preaching to the class, and then I would be the guy raising my hand saying, "Wait a minute, how about this?" And I enjoyed it, and the professors who I would battle with, and I would hand in position papers taking a completely antithetical position from their own, would pretty much frequently say to me after class, thanks for making things this interesting. So you had asked before, where does that come from? That disruptor?
Mhm.
I think definitely the college days were, I found the chutzpah to speak up and stand up. Because when one person speaks out, two people speak out, four speak out,
Mhm.
and then over a sudden you have a new movement that is really fighting for something. And
But when you speak out, you also find, don't you, that other people who are a little shy about speaking out will come to you and say, "Well, Justin, why don't you take the lead on this for us?" I mean, I'm sure you've found that has happened,
yeah,
and that's what moved you into politics.
yeah, for sure. And when, sometimes that becomes a little too, if it happens too frequently, I often tell people, don't hide under my skirt, grab your own, no offense, and stand up, because this state needs so many more people than just you and me who are bold enough and courageous enough to push back and to offer a fundamentally different viewpoint than what the anointed people in Trenton think is best for us, or at the local level. And
But I want to give people a little bit of background on Parsippany-Troy Hills, which we're here in Cherry Hill, Camden County. Actually, the two townships are about similar sizes. I think you guys have about 55,000.
that we know of.
So somewhere in there, and we have, I think, more towards 70,000 at this point that we
We'll be
know.
catching up with you. We have 11 new apartment complexes being built.
Well,
That's going to add about 4,200 new units. So I anticipate in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll probably go up another 5 to 10,000,
mhm.
just off of that alone. And that doesn't even factor in the new housing requirements that we got last Friday that really ruined my weekend and made me throw up my lunch.
Why? Oh, you mean from the state?
Yeah, the
The new
COA.
state. Oh, yes, folks. This is in New Jersey. We have
Mhm.
this mandate that goes back a long way from the Supreme Court. By the way, we've always in New Jersey had one of the most far left liberal Supreme Courts in the country. And
Yep.
it doesn't seem to matter whether the appointees to the Supreme Court are Republican or Democrat, they almost always turn out to be far left. It's
Yeah.
like a closed little circle at the top that appoints these people and unfortunately the Republicans for many years have simply practically like closed ranks with the Democrats in this incestuous relationship that has given us one of the most far left Supreme Courts in the country. Did I mischaracterize that, Justin?
No, you're not off base at all. I see far too often that Republicans enable the left to do the terrible things that they've done to this state, whether it's been the housing mandates that we've been dealing with since 1971 as a result of the Mount Laurel Doctrine. If it was last year, that Oprah bill that rolled back so much of those good government transparency measures that are in place to hold elected officials like me accountable, and also the bureaucrats who stay in office once people like myself leave office. And they only had the votes because Republicans supported that Oprah bill. So, you're not off base at all. And that's why I think a new generation of leadership is desperately needed on the Republican side from the local level, the county level, and fighting for us down in Trenton.
Well, Justin, so you've gotten some bad news from the state about the number of affordable housing units that you have to accomplish in Parsippany-Troy Hills. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so on Friday, we received our housing numbers. They almost amount to about 1,000 new units. So 1,000 have to be affordable housing units. So that's only 20%. So that means they're calling for another 5,000 units on top of what I just told you is being built, those 11 other apartment complexes, where almost every blade of grass in Parsippany will be developed. And we've determined to do something about it. We've joined the lawsuit that the mayor of Montvale has. We should have joined it sooner, but we also should have taken the lead on it, in my opinion. I was pretty critical of the mayor of Parsippany to take a wait and see approach on that, because this has been so injurious to us and so many neighboring municipalities and municipalities throughout the state. So I would love to see a groundswell of out of the 524 municipalities, a majority join and almost just say to the state, we're not going to comply, and come after us and come after every single municipality. But enough is enough, and we have to fight this tooth and nail.
Oh, I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and it's onerous, but it's like so many of the state mandates that are imposed on us in New Jersey. One of my least favorite, of course, this was not a court decision or an executive order. This was a piece of legislation. It's probably a piece of legislation that some Republicans joined in voting for, and that's the plastic bag ban. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
It's a bag tax.
What?
It's a bag tax. It's not a bag ban.
Yeah, bag tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's funny, by way of events, when I ran 3 years ago, my opponent at the time, a Democrat, she was instrumental in getting the bag ban into Parsippany. So that was a key issue I used against her. And I won off of that. But it is funny, she, if you fast forward 3 years, she actually just got on to the town council now. We're 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. So, and we've been actually working well together, believe it or not. She supported me on budget cuts that would have brought down the size of the mayor's tax increase. That would have also protected the municipal services, the municipal workforce, but while balancing the budget. So, when I tell people that if, Judy and I, who, she is much more to the left and I am far more to the right than she is, but if we can work together at the local level and actually advance measures of fiscal responsibility, then there's a blueprint for other people to do that all throughout the state.
No, I mean, that's a great story, and I'm glad to hear that. And just to get back for 1 second to the plastic bag ban, I mean, every time I go to the store, I walk out of my car, I'm practically at the door to the store, or I've gone in the doorway of the store, and then I remember, oh, damn, I forgot the bag. I forgot to bring my bag. I'm like a bag lady, okay, or bag person. And I got to go back to my car and retrieve one of these I don't even know how to explain them, fabric or semi-fabric or synthetic bags that get dirty. They get germs in them.
And
They're
they just sit
germ
in your
breeders.
basement. They just sit there and collect dust. We're
They're not,
moving,
they're
and I'm
disgusting.
amazed. I have a mountain of fabric bags in our basement.
Yeah, yes, that too. Uh, they they pile up. They're a nuisance, and the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the situation in Parsippany. Um, it's a crazy situation. I mean, first of all, Justin, for a long time, we automatically thought of Morris County as being pretty solidly Republican, but that's not the case anymore, is it?
I would say it's changing. It's still mainly a red county, but it is changing. There are traditional Republican towns that have become Democrat, from Morris Township to Morris Plains, that's on the verge of a complete flip. So we hope the Republicans there are successful. But Chatham Borough, Chatham Township, really towns that are transit oriented with direct access into the city.
Mhm.
We've been pummeled with people from the city that are fleeing the terrible quality of life, the extreme affordability, and then they come to Red Morris County and they set up shop and they continue to vote for what they fled from, which I don't understand it, and I never will.
You've got the
Um,
bleed from New York, just like we've got the bleed from Philadelphia down here. We've got the bleed from Philadelphia. You've got the bleed from New York,
yeah,
and
um,
they're fleeing failed liberal
policies.
cities,
Yeah.
and then they're coming in. And why the hell would you continue to vote the same way when that's what you were fleeing?
I completely agree with you. I get into that conversation with so many new people to our town, or when I'm out and about. It doesn't make sense to me. But those are the people that, unfortunately, we need to find ways to convert them, and we need them to seriously think about, hey, look, if you're voting for your feet, if you're voting with your feet, you need to vote Republican, and here's why. Here's how we're going to make your life better. Here's how we're going to advance the interests of your family. And I think that the Republican Party needs to get back to selling people on our vision, and not just saying no to what the Democrats in Trenton do, but selling what our vision is, so we can inspire, we can motivate, and we can win over the unconverted.
Having an absolute plan and a vision. And we will
Yeah,
get to that. We'll get to that. I want to just fill in for people the situation in Parsippany-Troy Hills. Where now you're going to be going in the primary against the incumbent Republican mayor, Jamie Barbario. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Now, Barbario was elected mayor, but you were not elected on the same ticket with him, correct?
So we were so back in the mayoral primary of 2021. I ran on a different slate in that Republican primary for the mayor at the time, and on election night, my whole slate lost except me, and I merged with his slate because I took out one of the council mates on his slate, and that's how
You
we.
had a high vote getter on your slate.
I was the top vote getter in the primary and in the general election for council, correct?
And how do you account for that, Justin? You were a complete newcomer.
It's not because of my good looks. I told people, I said, if you're voting for me because I'm either the best looking or best dressed, I'm like your third guy. But if you're voting for me because you can count on me to tell you what I stand for, to know what I stand for, and most importantly, if I go to town hall, will stand by what I told you, then I should be your first person to vote for. And I think I've done that. I've made every promise that I've made to the voters at that time when I ran. I refused to abandon, and that's how gradually I became alone when I saw the mayor abandoning many of the promises that he also made. And that's what, drew us into conflict, because I don't think the voters are stupid.
Barbario was the mayor, then he wasn't the mayor, then he was the mayor again.
Yeah, so he was the mayor from 2009 to 2017, and then he was sent out of office because Mayor Soriano, a Democrat, beat him, because many of the policies, the people he was surrounding himself with, became toxic in Parsippany, and they threw him out of office. And then that Democrat also did a dismal job at running the town. Was negligent, overspent the budget, left us in a very large hole when we took office. But then, unfortunately, Mayor Barbario went back to a lot of his old ways and surrounded himself with a lot of the same people that were controversial when he was mayor the first time.
And this is where you parted company with him.
Yes.
And by the way, you mentioned Councilwoman Judith Hernandez.
Yes.
She won by 2 votes. Is that
She
right?
did. Yeah, this
is crazy, folks. I mean, you can
every vote counts.
Talking about here now in this town where that is so incredibly competitive. Do they have these kind of hot primary races on the Democrat side too, Justin?
No, never.
No, they don't.
Yeah. You can always count on the Republicans to kill each other in a primary and the Democrats to never do it. It's as you said it best. Remember at your brunch, the back after the league, you had said, if we keep killing each other, the only thing we will fight over is who has the right to lose.
That's the way I said it last year at the League of Municipalities, that our friend Jesse Kurtz, Councilman Jesse Kurtz of Atlantic City, at his brunch.
Although I think, not to interrupt you, I think that will change with the Democrats now, with the line going away as we know it. I think you will see more progressives who previously were kept out will now get involved. It's scary to think New Jersey is already far left as it is, with the progressives not on the hands of power. But now that they're going to be meddling in primaries because there will be no line, I think you'll see that change on the Democrat side as well.
Let me explain this. When Justin is saying there is no line, it's in New Jersey. It's what they call the line, and in the primaries, there has traditionally been a Democrat line, regular Democrat organization, and a Republican line on the ballot, a vertical line, regular Republican organization. And all the candidates are bracketed in that line, so that if you get the approval, the go-ahead of the Democrat or Republican boss in the county, or you win the line from a Democrat or Republican county convention or county vote, often controlled by the county bosses, because New Jersey has always had a system of partisan political county bosses. That's a whole nother crazy thing. Then once you are bracketed on that line, you automatically have the inside track for the nomination. Did I explain that right, Justin?
No, you did. As a native New Jerseyan and follower of politics, it's easy for me. But when you tell people about this outside the state, they just scratch their heads and they don't understand. So I think you explained it very well.
Now the line is gone.
Yes, but the legislature has appointed a bipartisan commission, I believe of 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, to revisit some mechanism that county parties will have that will enable them to bracket. So I don't think the legislature is just going to completely let the line die. Some version of it may come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I mean, because they don't want to give up their power.
No.
So you parted ways with Barbario. One of the issues was taxes, Justin?
That was one of the few issues. Taxes definitely was a big one. I mean, when he first came into office, his first tax increase was a 14% tax increase, which, we had made the, promise to voters, that we would balance budgets and we would correct the mess of the Soriano administration through fiscal management. And I didn't think that was a smart move when I saw alternatives like eliminating the millions of dollars of vacant jobs at town hall that have just been there for many, many years. The fact that we subsidize so many different organizations that are duplicative. And I think that, anytime I voted no on a tax increase, it wasn't just that I voted no. I always proposed alternatives that would protect existing township services and township personnel, but would eliminate a lot of these redundancies, a lot of these wasteful spending, big ticket items that have just been built into the township's budget. So that, that did draw us into to conflict for sure, because people are struggling. Even back then they were, and they're still struggling today.
And New Jersey has the highest real estate taxes in the country.
Yeah.
And the bulk of our taxes go for education.
Yeah, 2/3
goes
to the schools.
Yeah, that is like the biggest part of your tax bill.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a whole nother issue. We just had this big go round in the state legislature about the books in the library. I don't know whether you follow that. And obscene books in school libraries. We have the progressive and liberal wackos saying that we're trying to ban books.
Yeah.
This is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. What we're trying to do is keep obscene books, explicitly obscene pornographic material, out of school libraries where children have access to them. And this is actually happening right now in New Jersey. It sounds crazy. Am I wrong, Justin?
No. And this is what happens when you send your children to the government to be educated. And this is why, more so than ever, nationwide and in states like New Jersey, we need school choice.
Absolutely.
And I've been a big believer. I've always said, if you made me, governor for a day, number one would be school choice immediately. Number two would be ending the affordable housing mandates that are simply just destroying the quality of life in so many municipalities. Yeah. And then I'd probably be impeached after that. So I don't think I'd get very far.
So now you announced, like, what was it, almost a year in advance that you were going to run for mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to let people in on something, Justin. I hope you don't mind. But I mean, I don't want to say this too loud, but everybody, before Justin actually announced that he was going to do this, he sort of confided in me. He didn't say that he was actually going to do it, but he actually strongly hinted that he was going to give this a shot. And, I really, really like dedicated, principled young people getting involved in the party. And so that's how we sort of became friends, isn't it, Justin?
Yeah, well, because I think a lot of the advice that you've given has been very sage over the years as I've gotten to know you. I've gotten to see you speak to groups. You're a person that is somebody that I emulate, that you say it exactly how it is. You're fighting for what you believe in, and you're not afraid to offend people or rub people the wrong way, because in your heart that the words you're saying are the truth.
Well, it's got some trouble in the past, Justin.
Well, that's okay. We need to cause trouble. It's okay, as long as it's good trouble. And I'm in plenty of it all the time. I know what it feels like. But
you have a policy. You do speak your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I notice you have a policy of staying in close touch with the people. You have an open line.
Yeah.
Anybody can contact you. You have an open email. They can call you, whatever. I have to ask you now at this point, is your wife all in on this political stuff? I made a mistake.
Well, occasionally she'll yell at me if I'm on my phone too much, or if I have to push off a date night. But I wouldn't be able to do it without her blessing and her support. And I anytime if I win an award, it should have her name on it too, because she makes the big sacrifice of having to be home by herself because I'm at an event. Or she has to see some of the just awful stuff that people will post about you on Facebook. Who, I don't. It doesn't bother me because I don't take it personally. And you get thick skin after a while in elected office, but I know she takes it personally, and that's when it does bother me. But she's my source of support, my source of strength. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without her.
Yeah, it's a messy, messy business, Justin.
Yeah, especially when it's played by bad people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. But that's what I'm also trying to change. I'm also trying to, as you mentioned, one of the biggest criticisms of the current mayor is just the running joke of the mayor's action center in our town is called the mayor's inaction center, because you reach out to them or you email them, there's no response, and it's happened to so many residents.
Oh my goodness!
And this mayor is a full-time mayor. The salary, cell phone bill, paid staff, everything is subsidized by the taxpayer. So if God willing, I win and I become mayor, that policy that I've enacted since I first got elected of 24/7, 365 open communication, email, phone, to my constituents will stay in place. I do my monthly office hour meetings where I've probably helped over 250 residents in town solve any issues with the township, from permits to potholes to utility company, to neighborhood issues, to issues with state departments, issues with federal departments, sometimes just being a psychiatrist, whatever works. But I love that aspect of local office, that
I'm helping people.
And helping people. It's the only reason why you do it.
You were talking about government efficiency and all. Did you study finance, Justin?
No, I didn't study finance, but I've read a lot of books about finance, municipal operations, and trying to apply a lot of that to local government is very hard, because you'll find that the wheels of government move very slow, and changes don't come easy, because so many people benefit from the way things are. And when they see disruptors like me come into office, who are like, well, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to have residents fax their bills in to pay their bills anymore. We're going to have a online portal where they can make online payments. It sounds like a no-brainer to you and me, but to some of these bureaucrats, they think they know what's best. And that's where you've got to remind them, no, you don't.
Yeah, we're talking about the administrative state now.
Correct. We're moving away from the elected officials, and it's the administrative state that is at every layer of government.
It's immense.
Yeah.
It's immense. And I was worked for 3 years for Cherry Hill Township a long time ago, in the beginning of my career. And I was assistant to the assistant township manager in Cherry Hill Township. When they had a township manager, they've since changed the form of government. But I actually, I was a young, idealistic person. I saw a lot of things that needed to be changed with the local government. We were a new regime that just came into power that I was working for. But I actually had people there that were longtime employees, part of the administrative state at that time, who took me aside and said, "Hey, listen, kid, you're working to, you're shaking things up too much here. Back off. Sort of pretend you're busy and take it easy. You could have a nice life here, seal into your pension after a number of years." That's the way they looked upon it. And I was like,
Absolutely.
what the hell? What the hell's going on here?
Absolutely. When I first got elected, um, you know the I had went door to door, and every time I go door to door, I take notes on what people say, and then I enter those notes into Excel, and from that comes a really big picture of the town. What portions of our town are suffering from what types of problems? What are the recommendations? What are sometimes some of the best ideas I get are from residents. And so, long story short, I met with a certain person. I won't mention their name, but after I won, I said, we're sitting down, and I gave them a booklet of here are all the recommendations that we're going to make to change the town for the better. We're going to go department by department. We're going to do this. We're going to change this. And then this person was saying, can't do this, not going to work here, was done in 1985 and failed then. And then the person said, my best advice is you just sit there for your first 4 years and you vote yes on everything that comes your way. And I was like, well, that told me everything I needed to know about that person. And as it turned out, you kind of know the rest, as they say, is history.
And Justin, you're campaigning now. What are you hearing from people on the ground day to day? Of course, you're campaigning for the primary next year, but you're also hearing from people about the November election that's coming up, and this very critical presidential election. We've got a Senate contest here in New Jersey. You have I don't know how hot the congressional contest is in your district, but what are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So, unlike others, I'm not holding fundraisers for my own self. I'm not having people door knock for just me. I'm actually campaigning for other people right now. So, I've been actively door knocking for our 3 conservative Republicans in Board of Ed in town. But believe it or not, the mayor is supporting a liberal Democrat over the 3 Republicans because they happen to support me. And some of my policy stances on tax breaks for developers. But we'll park that aside. And I'm campaigning for our commissioners, our county surrogate, and then obviously, Curtis Bashaw, who has a legitimate shot to be the next Republican Party's senator.
Great candidate. He's just a great candidate.
Good man, good
a
person.
Charming man. Charming.
Yes.
Classy guy.
Yes. And a business owner, self-made, fantastic story, rejuvenated the Cape May area.
I was just saying about Curtis Bashaw. I've met him. I've chatted with him. He's enormously accessible. He's a classy guy. He's articulate.
Yep.
He is totally dedicated to New Jersey.
Yep.
His opponent, I couldn't, a 2-term congressman, I couldn't tell you a single thing that the man has accomplished. Not one single thing that he has accomplished in Congress. I don't believe anything that he's pushed has been passed or enacted or anything. He's just right down the line, progressive liberal nonsense. I'm sorry, Justin, go ahead.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing right now is a lot of people are struggling. I think a lot of people have buyer's remorse on Biden. I talk to people all the time who tell me they voted for Biden because they just couldn't take Trump, but now they're going back to Trump. I think the enthusiasm is there for the Republican side, as evidenced by we're beating the Democrats in early voting. Who would have thought that?
Amazing. It's amazing.
So we need to really have an overwhelming mandate. And I tell people all the time that if election night is close, the Democrats will win it with vote by mail. But if we win with a mandate, if there is a landslide and the margins are so beyond what the Democrats can come in with the vote by mail, then the Donald Trump will be the next president. But I don't know how it's going to play out. All I know is I can do my part to help all the Republicans running, and that's what I can control.
Yeah, I mean, we don't expect that New Jersey is going to be definitive in the presidential election. Of course, we may be more than pleasantly surprised. We may have an actual shocker on election night.
I would love that.
Yeah, but the latest figures that I've shown, like you've said, with the early vote, it's really been almost even between Republicans and Democrats. And of course, that doesn't count the people who are voting, which is a pretty high percentage in New Jersey who are voting as independents. And so we don't know how they're breaking. I have seen a lot of polls that have shown independents breaking for Trump.
Yeah.
Two things. New Jersey, I've found over many years of observing New Jersey statewide elections and congressional races as well. New Jersey voters are late deciders for the most part. They're late deciders. I think that comes from not having a single statewide media and having to get our information secondhand through New York and New Jersey media, which we're sort of like the forgotten stepchild of New York and New Jersey media. Okay.
Right.
And the other thing is that in most elections that I've observed or been involved with over the years, even the very close ones, coming into the home stretch, that is the last week to the last 4 or 5 or even 3 days, eventually break one way or the other. They eventually break one way or the other. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's going to happen here. I think it's going to break one way or the other, so that it's not going to be, a cliff, necessarily not going to be a cliffhanger. Now, I may be crazy, but that's what I see.
Have you voted, or are you?
I've already voted. Yeah, I voted.
You already voted. Okay. All right. I have my wife and I have not voted. As I said, due to the move, we haven't voted, but we're going to vote on election day. I think the last 2 elections we've early voted. But I'm told the lines have been very long this time around.
Oh, yes.
So, we need, God only knows how who they're voting for. But it's going to be an interesting election. That's for sure. I can't wait for election night already. I remember when Trump won the first time back in 2016.
What a shocker.
Yeah. I don't know what we'll be in for.
I mean, that was a night for the books for all time.
At 3 a.m.
I'm old enough to remember my father talking about the Truman upset in 1948 when Truman versus Dewey.
Yeah.
People remembered that for decades. I mean, my father remembered it all his life.
Yeah.
Truman, and there's a famous picture of Truman holding the newspaper, Dewey defeats Truman.
Yeah.
I think for our generation, or the younger generation, actually for my generation, because I was born, though I was born when Truman was president. I mean, I was born like late in his presidency, so I don't even remember that. But so for us, it's the Trump victory in 2016 that will stand as a watershed for all time.
Oh, of course. And if
momentous moments in American politics.
And a former president comes back and wins, that's also, I think, unprecedented.
First time since Grover Cleveland, it would be.
Yeah.
Over 100 years. That
we're in for some history, for sure.
It would be only the second time in our history that ever happened.
I know. So it's going to be the next 8 days are going to be real nail biters. And I think you're probably like me. You see one headline that's good for Trump, one headline that's bad. And we're just like, I don't know how this is going to go.
Now, at some point I have to stop. I have to stop watching or reading or paying attention. And I just have to take a break from it and walk away from it.
Yeah. it's probably safest for your health.
So we'll end on that, Justin. So what do you do for fun to when you want to get away from it and take a break?
Yeah, so I love to hike. I love to go out and explore. I'm a big national parks guy. I'm trying to do a few national parks every year until I do every single one. Love time I can spend with Courtney when we get to go out to eat, just us, go to the movies, and really just connect and bond is great. Try and stay outdoors, try and work out. I do CrossFit. That's really good for my own mental health, because if I didn't have an outlet, I probably would kill somebody, figuratively. I have a very busy schedule. It's good though. And all that stuff keeps me busy, but also passionate about a lot of reading. Do a lot of reading. Try and read a book a month. That definitely is a good way for me to just focus and relax and learn.
Justin, I just finished reading, by the way, Doris Kearns Goodwin's new book, which is a sort of political autobiography, love story of her and her husband, Richard Goodwin. Of course, they're progressive Democrats. We'll forgive them that.
Okay.
But of their life and their political life, spanning all the way back to JFK. And when JFK became president, up until now. It's a beautifully written book. Justin, it has been marvelous chatting with you as always. And I hope and I expect that we will be chatting again before the primary.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope and expect I'll be chatting with you down in Atlantic City at the League of Municipalities.
Right.
And at the leadership brunch at Jesse Kurtz will host.
I look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing you. And I wish you and your wife and your little baby soon to arrive, and much love and happiness, Justin.
Thank you, Dan, and same to you. I thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate the opportunity for me to come on, talk about my campaign, my thoughts on state and nationwide politics, and most importantly, to have some good company while doing that.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Justin. Good night.
Okay. Take care, Dan. Good night.